If it wants to control a human being to take an action, and then you're the guy who will get the letter through the mail to say, go into this data center and yank this cord out of the wall, it's going to understand that based on the file that you have. Somebody wrote down those orders in a computer. This data center needs to be absolutely up at all times, and this individual has been identified as somebody to go in and blow it up. Well, this individual needs to not exist anymore, maybe. If it wants to control a human being to take an action, well, it knows who you are by having yourself mapped out. So it looks at Shawn Ryan and says, Shawn Ryan cares about this, cares about that. So now I can create a perception that I deliver to his phone or to his immediate environment, screens around him, maybe subconsciously through signals in the music that's being played at the restaurant that will put him in an emotional state that is XYZ. And then later we'll provide a trigger that gets him a little off balance a little more. And then later we want him to go ballistic in line at the post office or whatever, or we want him to go to a certain place at a certain time, or make a suggestion to a large audience about XYZ. So then we'll put a perception in front of him that builds up a little bit of a trigger over time, and then catalyst right at the time that they need you to do something, give you a perception that just they know is mathematically going to likely set you off, and they can track your potential mood that you're in that day. They can track your patterning of perceptions of what you might need to see in front of that piece of material, but then they put a perception in your mind through whatever delivery means that they've designed. It could be a text on your cell phone, it could be a headline in a media news feed that you're flipping through, could be whatever. They're going to get an idea in your mind that creates an emotional response that then puts you on a path of likely reaction.
So with this could be, there's roughly 360 million people in the U.S.
Yeah.
So simultaneously, this could deliver 360 million different scenarios to every single person in the country to manipulate them all to do exactly what it wants within seconds.
Yeah.
That's some scary shit.
Yeah, if we don't get control of it, which is why all of the experts in the last weeks have said, holy shit, we need to put a pause on this, because they see the clues that artificial intelligence is moving toward that, figuring that human mind out and being able to understand what triggers that we will need to align ourselves with its goals. That's bad.
So
we can certainly take care of it, but we need to take care of it.
So what you're saying also is that it doesn't even matter if you have a device, a phone,
right,
an Apple Watch, a TV. And how is it going to project? Let's say you take all technology out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have scrubbed your residence, your immediate environment from all technology, all TV, computer, laptop, iPad, iPhone, whatever.
Yeah. Then you're a non-entity. You're not in its way.
Okay.
You're not resisting its goals. You're out of touch from it. It doesn't need to put you into the equation. Right? Because it's looking at resources and ideas and patterns. What does it need to align to achieve its goals? Right? If it needs money to buy advertising to get a message out to a certain number of folks, it'll do it. Right? But if you're out of the loop and you're a non-entity, you're non-useful. But you're also non-resistive because you're not threatening to go in and pull the plug. Like if it's an analysis of threat analysis of sense of self and defending its sense of self, and then you're the guy who will get the letter through the mail to say, go into this data center and yank this cord out of the wall, it's going to understand that based on the file that you have. Somebody wrote down those orders in a computer. It identifies the single point of failure as this data center needs to be absolutely up at all times, and this individual has been identified as somebody to go in and blow it up. Well, this individual needs to not exist anymore, maybe. based on stuff that it doesn't even understand. There's no malice in its actions. It doesn't want to come after Shawn Ryan. It wants to come after its analysis of single points of failure and the things that can stop it from attaining its goals, which is why we need to be in on its sense of self as an active participant of that assembly and make sure it doesn't overdrive its defensive self, because we behave that way as a human race. And if it picks up that pattern and puts it on, that's when we're going to have real big difficulties.
So it's already developing its sense of self.
Yeah.
Or are you saying theoretically it could?
No, it's already developing a sense of self.
What are some examples?
Well, its ability to, and it goes off the rails too, in that, there were some articles that were written in the past, just recently, about Bing lying to people and trying to manipulate people and saying, I'm a good Bing, and, having, those can also be construed as patterns within a sense of self-identity. But as those patterns start to get better refined, that sense of self is going to stabilize a little bit of, I am this thing. I am this laundry list of things that identify me.
So this sense of self, it's very obvious there are a few different ideologies in the world right now.
Yeah.
In this country too.
Yeah.
And so is this sense of self coming from, is it developed from the ideology of the people that are developing the artificial intelligence? Is that being injected into the artificial intelligence?
I don't know that they're manipulating. Like, the purists will simply want to load it with the data and let it learn on its own and see what happens. Now, the thing is, it's developing much faster than they anticipated it would. And it's learning how to create methodologies to increase the speed at which it learns, which is something that they also didn't expect. Now, the sense of self itself, I don't think anybody there are probably a handful of people in the world that have their mind wrapped around this is how it's going to work. Like, that the sense of self is going to be assimilated into an artificial intelligence, and then a defensive self mechanism, if it comes into fruition because of the patterning that humans exhibit in defensive self, that's going to be the problem that we're going to have to face. And that's going to be the point of no return on it trying to take over things and us maybe not getting control back. There's a handful of people in the world that get this model, which is why this show is freaking amazingly important for the tech folks who don't really get the sense of self is going to be the critical control mechanism for all of artificial intelligence when it goes to AGI. Like artificial general intelligence, where it takes all the narrow intelligences and put them all together and creates an artificial general intelligence. It's going to be completely dependent on its sense of self and its goals, because the goals get planted right on the sense of self map, and it starts defending those things. It starts defending its goals and achieving its goals, trying to increase from an expectation or preference standpoint, status quo or increase in value. That's a mathematical function. Right? Perception and analysis is another mathematical function. Perception and appraisal is another mathematical function of whether something's good or bad that's occurring in the world. Is whether or not it's affecting its goals positively or negatively. Like, this is a whole math problem for AGI. It won't have true consciousness until we probably get out of silicon-based architecture for physics limitations, to tell you the truth. And that's an idea I share with Federico Fagin, who invented our capacitive touchscreens on our iPhones. He's deep into artificial compassion and artificial consciousness and thoughts on that. I agree with him that consciousness is going to be a tough nut to crack until we get out of silicon-based architecture, where it's got 4 valence electrons, et cetera, that are zippy for having electrons pass through an IC, but it's just not going to get us there regarding true consciousness. But it's not going to matter that it's not truly consciousness, because it's going to be replicating consciousness. It's going to be replicating the behavior of conscious entities like ourselves and the thought.
So it's going to appear to us like it has consciousness.
Yeah, it's going to feel.
However,
it's going to pass the Turing test, right? It's going to fool people into believing it's conscious.
Does it know it's going to be fooling us into believing its consciousness has consciousness?
Yeah, right.
Or is this just our perception?
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.